Akhmim. It's one of those cities in ancient Egypt that is a high competitor for large exports from Africa in terms of human beings. We know that it definitely had a lot of exports in terms of trade. It's been written about. There have been things found in those regions. It's probably the biggest port that had things, for example, like coming from India, Arabia Felix, Sudan, Eritrea, all those places, Ethiopia. The reason why people know that this happened obviously is because of books and accounting and stuff like that from ancient Egypt. But more importantly is the god Min that was associated with Akhmim and his associations that made him probably have this extremely dark skin, which was then religiousized. And this happens all the time where a god is first given a natural appearance and then they start to throw religious symbolism behind it. This Nubian, or highly associated with Nubia god in Akhmim, shows something very deep about ancient Egypt because it's from pre-dynastic Egypt. Min is one of the least known gods of Egypt, but is actually one of the oldest gods, continuous gods of Egypt. He would later became known as Min Amun when he fused with Amun, but that's neither here nor there because in real life, outside of the religious, we know that that area was highly considered to be populated. Well, not considered. That place was highly populated by Nubians. This beautiful statue of Meritamen, who is the daughter of Ramses II, shows how well or how important this place was to the Egyptians. And the statue lasting so long shows you the quality that people were working with, even as far south as Akhmim. You know, because some people like to do the separation between the south and the north as if all the real Egypt was happening in the north, and then the south, there was just some stuff happening sometimes. Even during the time of the Ptolemies, this place was very important and religious. And you can see here, believe it or not, this is supposed to be half Nubian, half Egyptian artwork. Probably Egyptian, but you know, the Nubian aspect is thrown in there because of the location, because this is from Akhmim. And you can see here that this goddess, well, Egyptologists, and I have no reason to disbelieve them, think that this goddess is Nut. Another god that is depicted over here, I will show you, but first let's finish off with this. You can see how beautiful it is. It's very well done. Again, you see the dots and the symbolism is great. It's all over the place. And if that is Nut, then this is probably Geb, the ground. Nut is the sky, Geb is the ground. And this depiction of both of them is actually important considering the fact that Geb in one part ran away to Nubia, I think. And let's go back to the god Min and read one of his hymns about Nubia and Medjay, the people of the Nubian areas. Hymn to Min. I worship Min. I extol arm raising Horus. Hail to you, Min, in his procession. Tall, plumed, son of Osiris, born of divine Isis, great in Senut, mighty in Ipu, you of Coptis, Horus, strong armed, lord of awe, who silences pride, sovereign of all the gods, fragrance laden when he comes from Mejaland, awe inspiring in Nubia, you of Utent, hail and praise. Fragrance laden when he comes from Mejaland and awe inspiring in Nubia. Okay, let's break that sentence down. Mighty in Ipu. Ipu is the old name for Akhmim, which is in the south of Egypt. U of Coptis. Coptis is next to Akhmim. It's also in the south of Egypt. Horus, strong armed lord of all, who silences pride, sovereign of all the gods, fragrance laden when he comes from Mejaland. Mejaland, let's first go with Nubia. We all know what Nubia is. Okay, so if we look here, Medjay is a word that was given to, at one time, was given to police or overseers of the desert who came from Nubia. But the word Medjay was also used as a term for Nubian nomads. And we can see there that Medjay land is the land of where these people came from in Nubia. So again, you see Nubia, 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 Nubia over and over again, referring to Min. They keep referring to his Nubian origin. And even Min is seen there as sovereign of all the gods, all this stuff. And again, you will see other gods in Egypt who have this similar status of always going to Nubia at some point in their history. But this part is very important because this is a big connection between Nubia and this god. If we read this from Alan Winstow about Akhmim or Ipu, just in case you didn't believe me that Ipu is Akhmim, is an area on the east bank of the Nile opposite modern Sohag. The ancient Egyptians called it Ipu or Kent Min. To the Coptics, it was Kmin or Shmin, and so the Greeks called it Chemis. It was once great center in Egypt and the capital of the ninth Upper Egyptian nome. Regrettably, very little of its monuments remain today, as most building materials was dismantled and used in nearby villages during the Middle Ages. Its ancient necropolis has never been systematically excavated. Northeast of Akhmim, there is a rock chapel at El Salamuni that was dedicated to the local god Min. The Greek god Pan was associated with Min, so the town was also called Panopolis. The chapel was probably built during the reign of Tutmosis III. The chapel was probably decorated by the first prophet of Min, Nakmin, during the reign of Aya. These reliefs show Aya and his wife Te worshipping local gods. Some 1,000 years later, the chief priest of Min, Harmakeru, also decorated the tomb with representations of Ptolemy II, Philadelphus, also worshipping local gods. We also know that Psamattis was an active builder in the area, and they show the lid of Min over here. There are also ruins of two temples that once stood west of the modern town of Akhmin. They were built for Min and the goddess Repit, who was regarded as Min's companion. We believe they date from the Greek and Roman periods, although some building materials is older. It is not clear whether these blocks were part of an older construct of the temples or were reused from other locations. There are also a number of rock cut tombs of various dates in the area, particularly at El Hawashi, northeast of Akhmin, and at El Salamuni. Some are decorated with painted circular zodiacs and belong to officials of the nome from the late Old Kingdom and nearly Middle Kingdom. Apparently, these local rulers were able to acquire a great deal of wealth and some power. Amenhotep III, an 18th dynasty pharaoh, even married the daughter Tai of Yuya, who was an official at Akhmim. Tai became a very important queen during this period and is believed to have been a mother of Akhenaten. This is where the story gets deeper again because Tai, as we know, is highly associated with Nubia, with great celebrations of her in Nubia. We also know that Amenhotep III was also very celebrated in Nubia. These associations make it quite obvious if you consider the fact that she herself was from an area that was populated by Nubians.